Welcome to Global Byte. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Good evening. Tonight, we bring you a story that could redefine the future of East Asia, and perhaps the world. For decades, the region has been marked by tension, suspicion, and the ever-present shadow of old rivalries. But now, something remarkable is unfolding. In a world often divided by conflict and uncertainty, a seismic shift is underway in East Asia. The region, long seen as a flashpoint for potential confrontation, is now witnessing a thaw that few could have predicted just a few years ago. China and Japan, historic rivals with a complex and often fraught relationship, have just signed a landmark security agreement. This unprecedented move signals the possibility of a new era, one where dialogue and cooperation might finally take precedence over suspicion and rivalry. This isn't just a regional story. It could reshape the very foundations of global peace and the international order. The world is watching closely, as the implications of this agreement extend far beyond East Asia's borders. In a move that surprised many analysts, Beijing has accepted a comprehensive security proposal from Tokyo. The agreement aims to pull both nations back from the brink of confrontation, and instead, set them on a path toward mutual understanding and stability. The deal establishes direct lines of communication and clear protocols for military encounters, creating guardrails where there were none before. This is designed to prevent misunderstandings and accidental escalations, a crucial step in a region where military assets often operate in close proximity. Tonight, we'll explore the long and complicated history between these two nations, the key terms of the deal, and the global reactions to this breakthrough. We'll hear from experts, diplomats, and ordinary citizens whose lives could be changed by this new chapter. The stakes are enormous. The global balance of power, economic stability, and the future of international alliances all hang in the balance. Markets are already reacting, and world leaders are recalibrating their strategies in response to this unexpected development. Is this simply a pragmatic risk management step, or could it truly mark the beginning of a new era for East Asia and the world? Join us as we unpack the details, analyze the risks and opportunities, and try to answer the question on everyone's mind: what comes next? To truly understand the significance of this agreement, we must first confront the deep scars and complex legacy of Sino-Japanese history. The relationship between these two nations is not just defined by recent events, but by a long and often painful past that continues to echo into the present. Their rivalry is rooted in centuries of conflict, competition, and deep-seated mistrust. The trauma of World War II, in particular, left wounds that have never fully healed. For many in China, memories of invasion and occupation remain vivid, shaping national identity and fueling a sense of historical grievance. In Japan, the legacy of defeat and reconstruction has led to its own complex relationship with the past and with its powerful neighbor. In recent decades, these historical tensions have found a new flashpoint: the disputed Senkaku, or Diaoyu, islands in the East China Sea. These tiny, uninhabited islands have become potent symbols of national pride, sovereignty, and the promise of untapped energy resources beneath the waves. Each side claims them as its own, and neither is willing to back down. The result has been a series of tense military standoffs, with ships and aircraft from both countries coming dangerously close to confrontation. These near misses have become almost routine, raising fears that a single miscalculation could spark a wider conflict, one that neither side truly wants, but both must prepare for. As China's economic and military power has surged, Japan has responded by strengthening its alliance with the United States and investing heavily in its own defense capabilities. Joint military exercises, new security agreements, and displays of advanced hardware have become common sights, underscoring the seriousness with which both sides view the threat. Against this backdrop of escalating tension, the recent agreement stands out as a rare and remarkable moment of restraint. It represents a conscious decision by both governments to step back from the brink, to seek dialogue over confrontation, and to acknowledge that the costs of conflict would be catastrophic for all involved. This is not a story of newfound friendship or trust. Instead, it is a pragmatic recognition by both sides that the risks of open conflict are simply too high, and that even bitter rivals can find common ground when the alternative is disaster. The deal is a deliberate step back from the edge, forged in the shadow of near disasters and hard lessons from history. It is a fragile peace, but for now, it is a peace that both sides have chosen, however cautiously, to pursue. The breakthrough began with a shift in Japan's political landscape. Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's government has taken a more reserved, inward approach, focusing on pragmatic security rather than global grandstanding. Despite fewer diplomatic trips, Japan's defense budget continues to rise, reflecting a consensus on the need for strength. Recent elections empowered right-leaning parties, ensuring any engagement with China is balanced by a robust defense posture. This allowed Japan to negotiate from a position of strength, signaling to Beijing that dialogue does not mean weakness. The result, a strategy of détente through strength, resonating with both domestic politics and China's leadership. Japan's offer was not a concession, but a responsible move to manage a dangerous rivalry. What's in the deal? At its core, it's a framework for risk reduction, not a peace treaty. The centerpiece is a direct military hotline between Beijing and Tokyo, an emergency brake in moments of crisis. Regular high-level defense dialogues will foster transparency and reduce miscalculation. Joint maritime exercises will focus on humanitarian missions, not combat, building trust at the operational level. Most crucially, new safety protocols for encounters at sea and in the air will professionalize interactions and prevent escalation. These rules, based on international codes, set clear standards for ships and pilots. The agreement aims to strip encounters of their most dangerous potential. It's a practical toolkit for managing competition, not erasing it. Official statements from Beijing and Tokyo were carefully crafted. China framed the deal as a win for regional stability and Asian-led security, subtly downplaying U.S. involvement. Japan's prime minister called it a pragmatic step, reassuring the public that core security principles and the U.S. alliance remain intact. Both sides stress risk management, not capitulation. For China, the deal eases tensions and lets it focus on other priorities. For Japan, it's a diplomatic win that reduces the risk of conflict. The breakthrough was possible because both leaders found their interests aligned, at least for now. Beneath the rhetoric, the reality is a delicate balancing act. The world is watching with cautious optimism. The U.S. welcomed the deal, but privately weighs its impact on alliance dynamics and regional strategy. South Korea offered a measured response, hoping for stability, but wary of being sidelined. Taiwan, facing its own security threats, views the agreement with anxiety, fearing it could embolden Beijing. Southeast Asian nations see both opportunity and risk, a model for de-escalation, but also concern that Japan may become less assertive. The deal's ripple effects are being closely monitored across the Indo-Pacific. Allies and rivals alike are recalibrating their strategies. The region's security architecture is shifting, carefully, and under intense scrutiny. Politically, the agreement marks a significant turning point, slashing the risk of accidental conflict in the East China Sea, a region long fraught with tension and uncertainty. For years, overlapping territorial claims and military posturing have kept the area on edge, with even minor incidents threatening to spiral out of control. Now, with this new framework in place, both sides have a clearer set of expectations and communication channels, making it less likely that misunderstandings will escalate into dangerous confrontations. The agreement also introduces new dynamics into the U.S.-Japan alliance, forcing Washington to adapt as Tokyo engages directly with Beijing. This shift could reshape the balance of power in the region, as the United States must now consider how its own security commitments interact with Japan's evolving diplomatic strategy. While the U.S. remains a key player, Japan's willingness to negotiate independently signals a more assertive role in regional affairs, potentially leading to both opportunities and challenges for trilateral cooperation. Economically, the impact was immediate and dramatic. Markets surged on news of the deal, with investors interpreting it as a sign of stability and a harbinger of new opportunities for cooperation. The Nikkei 225 and Shanghai Composite both saw notable gains, reflecting optimism that reduced tensions could pave the way for increased trade, investment, and joint ventures. Business leaders on both sides have expressed hope that the agreement will foster a more predictable environment, encouraging long-term planning and cross-border partnerships. Yet, despite these positive signals, Japan's strategic posture remains fundamentally unchanged. The country continues to strengthen its military capabilities and deepen alliances with key partners, including the United States and other regional actors. Recent military exercises and defense agreements underscore Tokyo's commitment to maintaining a robust deterrent, even as it pursues dialogue with Beijing. This dual-track approach reflects a recognition that peace is best preserved through both engagement and preparedness. The agreement doesn't end competition. It formalizes it, putting guardrails around the most dangerous flashpoints. By establishing clear protocols and mechanisms for crisis management, both sides hope to prevent incidents from spiraling out of control. However, the underlying disputes over territory and resources remain unresolved, and both governments continue to assert their claims. The real test will be in implementation. Will protocols be respected, and will dialogue remain substantive? Success will depend on the willingness of both sides to honor their commitments, communicate transparently, and address emerging challenges in good faith. Diplomatic engagement must be ongoing, with regular consultations and confidence-building measures to ensure that the agreement's spirit is upheld. The new status quo is fragile, lowering the temperature but not resolving core disputes. Tensions could flare up again if either side perceives a threat to its interests, or if external events disrupt the delicate balance. Vigilance and restraint will be essential to maintaining the current calm. The hope is that these safety features will hold under pressure, providing enough flexibility to manage crises without resorting to force. But the true measure of success will be whether both countries can build trust over time, gradually moving from mere risk reduction to genuine cooperation. Ultimately, the future of East Asian security now depends on the durability of this fragile peace. The region stands at a crossroads, with the potential for either renewed confrontation or a new era of stability, one shaped by careful diplomacy, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to peace. Experts see the deal as pragmatic risk management, not a strategic realignment. Dr. Lin Mei, East Asia security analyst, calls it an off-ramp from escalation, not a fundamental shift. Japan is hedging, opening dialogue with China while keeping its U.S. alliance strong. This gives Tokyo more flexibility amid shifting global power dynamics. Domestic politics in Japan ensure its proactive security strategy will continue, regardless of leadership style. The agreement is a sophisticated tactic, not a deviation from Japan's path. The real test is in the details. Will the hotline work in a crisis, and will protocols be followed? For now, it's a promising blueprint, but its strength remains unproven. We end with a sense of cautious hope. The China-Japan agreement is a first step, not a final destination. It shows that even bitter rivals can choose dialogue over confrontation. The challenges, historical mistrust, territorial disputes, and competition, remain. The deal's success or failure will shape not just East Asia, but the global order. The coming months will be critical. The world is watching. We'll report on whether trust is built or suspicion lingers, and if the hotline is ever truly tested. The stakes for peace and stability are too high to ignore. The path forward is uncertain, but this step matters.